All right, I'm here with future Hall of Famer Luke Kuechly and the Kuechly before Kuechly, Dan Morgan, the GM of these Carolina Panthers. And I just wish everyone could see you two geeking out over the stars that you've selected. What did you say about Ed Reed and Darryl Green? What's going on?
Yeah, so obviously Pep got into the Hall of Fame this weekend. It was an awesome weekend. I went up there on Saturday. Dan was there on Friday, and Pep had a little party after the induction. And we're there, and you start walking around and seeing guys. And I was always a huge Ed Reed fan, and Ed Reed came in at the end of the party, and I was standing next to a couple guys. I'm like, "That's Ed Reed," and they're like, "Yeah, we know it's Ed Reed." So I didn't go over and say hi to him, but you just when you go up to Canton like that, there's so many guys that you see that when you grew up you saw him playing, and it was a lot of fun. Obviously, Pep, and I got to see Pep growing up. And then my first time meeting Pep or seeing Pep was when he was in Chicago with the Bears. We played the Bears my rookie year, and they had two guys on the team that I couldn't wait to meet. One of them was Pep, and the other was Urlacher. Two guys that I grew up watching. And then Pep obviously went to Green Bay, and then I met Pep in the locker room in 2017. Thomas Davis brought him through the training room into the locker room. I was so nervous. It was Julius Peppers. It was like a guy that when you grow up watching football, there's certain guys that you play with on Madden, and Julius Peppers was that guy that was unfair. It was almost like, hey, you guys can't play with Pep. We can play with the Bears, we can play with the Packers, we can play with the Panthers. You can't play with Pep, though, because it's like cheating. So
cheat code.
When Pep came into the locker room that day in 2017 with Thomas, I just remember it, and I was so excited because he was going to be there the next 2 years, and I got to play with a guy like Julius Peppers. Is pretty cool.
I was there on Friday night, and Friday night they, kind of lined all the gold jacket guys up that, came back that were already inducted, and the guys that they were walking up on stage, I was just like, it was like my childhood was just like flashing like before my eyes. It was, Deion Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Thurman Thomas, Bruce Smith, like you have all these guys that you just like looked up to and remember watching on Sunday as a little kid. So it was definitely awesome. And then to be able to play with Julius and, just the type of person he is, the type of player he is, was just like awesome seeing him put that jacket on. And, he's in the Hall of Fame, which is awesome and well-deserved.
I love that. Sounds like it might have given you some energy. Does that do anything to you to go to Canton and see that? I've been in that room before. It is insane. It is special. It is magical. What does that do as you approach this year?
Yeah, I think, it definitely is inspiring. And, just from my position as the GM here, like, I want to draft some of those players. Like, I want to be, like, involved with some of those players. And I think we have some of those players out on the field right now that I'm really excited about. So, yeah, it was just a really good experience, really inspiring. And, I just hope to draft some future Hall of Famers in the future.
Okay, well, give me some names. Who do you like out there right now?
I'm not going to give you, like, a bunch of names because I don't think it's fair to the guys.
Yeah.
But I think, it's pretty obvious. Like, Derek Brown is one guy that comes to mind. Like, I think, obviously, we extended him this offseason, well-deserved. And, I think he's got a bright future, really bright future.
How much tape did you watch of this guy growing up?
A lot. So I got a great Dan Morgan story. When I was growing up, I loved the Miami Hurricanes. I don't know if you've heard this story before, but Dan Morgan wore my favorite number. You're number 44, right?
Yep.
He had the tinted visor. He had the back plate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I remember there was a game. I don't remember what year it was, but I remember you had turf toe.
Oh, yeah.
And this was back when everybody wore the 7 studs. And those things are horrible on your feet. They beat your feet up. They're hard to wear. All these guys wear molded cleats now. And they took – so on there's 7 studs. There's one here, and then 2 in the back.
Yep.
And you took the stud off on that big toe. And I remember I went up and told my mom, I said, Dan Morgan's playing with turf toe. They had to remove one of his studs. And my mom's like, I don't know what that means.
That was
but
one of
that
my
sounds
worst
really good.
college games.
No, it
my
was
toe
your
was
best.
killing me.
It was your best game because I was like, Dan Morgan's so tough.
Yeah. Well, we played against Michael Vick that game, and to have to run after that guy, like, I needed all my cleats to run his butt down.
So I've been watching him for a while.
I mean, you're so
since
insane.
college.
Luke, you're so insane.
I'm so old that I actually scouted him coming out when I was with the Seahawks. So he was my favorite linebacker. Obviously, hometown team. Drafted him, and I was a little jealous.
So
he was my favorite guy.
I met Dan the first time on the field in Seattle before a game. I think it was a playoff game, 2014 season.
I remember.
And obviously, I haven't known Dan, but I watched Dan since I was a little kid. And then I walk on the sideline, and they're like, "That's Dan Moore." I'm like, I know that's Dan Morgan. Like, you should go say hi to him. And I was just like Bert Urlacher and Pep when we played him in Chicago. I was nervous to come up. I was trying to play it cool, like, no, I'm in the zone. I can't say hi to Dan, but of course I had to come over and say hi. And I was like, I met Dan Morgan and cross him off the list of guys that I wanted to meet when I got in the NFL.
Mutual respect.
Good. It was
'Cause
fun.
I felt the same way. Like seeing Luke, just like watching him on tape, I'm like, this guy's an animal. So to be able to, obviously he's playing against the Seahawks. I was hoping he had a bad game that game, but there wasn't many bad games from Luke Kuechly.
And now you two are starring in the next G.I. Joe franchise movie together with the way you two look right now. This is awesome. I love the nostalgia. I'm loving all of this. Dan, you're talking about scouting Luke. You also had a lot to do with acquiring Bryce Young. He's back there. He's having a great camp. I'm hearing from Coach Canales that he's very timely. He knows how to command when he says something, it matters.
Yep.
I love that. How have you noticed his game evolve since maybe last year to this year?
Yeah, obviously, hiring Coach Canales, like he's been great for Bryce. Bryce is on a mission. Bryce he's laser focused right now. He's having a great camp. Really like gelling with his teammates. We have 43 new guys on this roster. Teams coming together. Bryce is one piece of that, and I think he's in for big things. The work ethic, how smart he is, the dedication that he puts into the game. I'm really excited for his future, and I'm excited for the team's future.
You're part of a big turnaround. You were on like a 1-15 team, right?
Yep.
A couple years later, you're in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What does it take? As you're sort of shaping this and what you want this big picture thing to do, which is your responsibility.
Yeah.
What is sort of shaping that and how to turn this around?
Yeah, I think obviously we've both been in winning locker rooms, and I think it's all about obviously the people that you have in the building, the type of people that you bring in the building, and the type of players that you infuse in the locker room. And I think it's bringing guys in that love football, love the game, love everything about it. Not just Sunday, but they love the process. They love the day-to-day, watching tape, weight room, doing all the little things. And, we're looking for those type of players. And I think if we fill the locker room with those type of guys, that we'll be headed in the right direction.
Sounds
really
like you
soon.
guys need a Kuechly. You had that, you NFC Championship, NFC chess. Who is Shaq Thompson the Kuechly here? Could he turn that around?
Yeah. Shaq's looking great. Shaq's a leader. He learned from Luke. He learned from Thomas Davis and the guys before, and that's kind of what we have to get like that. We have to draft well. We have to bring the right free agents in, and they have to be good mentors. And that's my job to identify that.
Well, I think what you're saying is exactly what Coach Canales was saying. He said he wants guys with effort, toughness, doing the right thing, run into the football. And I think all that's decisions that you make that has nothing to do with scheme, nothing to do with what kind of player you are. And I think you look at the free agents that you've brought in, I think a lot of those guys are like that. And as a backer, I always like having a bunch of big guys in front of me. So now it's A'Shawn Robinson, Shai Tuttle, Derek Brown. If you're Josie Jewell, if you're Shaq Thompson, if you're Trevin Wallace, our young rookie, they got to be so excited. I'm sure they thanked you for bringing those guys in. So kind of talk about some of those new big guys up front.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like bringing A'Shawn in, that's a big, long guy that can hold the point of attack. And our defense, our front, I think we're really stout. We have Shai Tuttle back at nose tackle. Bringing in a guy like Jadeveon Clowney in, who's a monster against the run and also a really good pass rusher. It's going to allow our linebackers. It's going to allow Josie. It's going to allow Shaq. Trevin Wallace, our rookie that we drafted in the 3rd round out of Kentucky. It's going to let those guys run and make plays, and I'm excited about the direction that we're headed.
We love talking to Coach. He's such an energy guy. Like, I could talk to him for hours. Luke and I were just both sort of mesmerized, buying everything he's selling. You've known him a long time.
Yep.
And now you two plotted this really well, by the way. This situation where you're now the GM and he's the head coach. What has impressed you about him? Or has he taken it to another level? Is there something you're seeing where you're like, oh shit, like head coach Dave Canales is a little bit evolved, progressive, different?
So the thing I know about him is that players are going to want to come play for Dave Canales. The energy that he brings on a day-to-day basis, how fun he makes it out here for the guys in training camp, just the day-to-day. That's what we want as players. We want to play for a coach that inspires us, that we love playing for, and Dave does all that. So I'm just I think we're really blessed that he's here and that he's our head coach of the Carolina Panthers.
Is it the little things like Luke got here and he goes, well, the fields are shaped differently. This makes more sense. And Dave's like, yeah, it makes more sense. Is it little things with him too, details? Like, what's the secret to him?
Yeah, he's very detailed, obviously, on the offensive side of the ball. And he has a lot of good people around him too. Brad Idzik, Nate Carroll. He has a really good staff. So, it's not just about Dave Canales, and Dave will tell you that. So he does a really good job of delegating, being a really good leader. He's everything you want in a head coach.
Joe Shane told me, your buddy, that, I asked him, how stressful is this time for you? Like, do you just get to kick your feet up and relax? And he goes, no, it's very, very stressful. What is your sort of, I would think like draft done, responsibility done. Now, Dave, okay, so what is your task?
Every day that I walk out here, I'm stressed out. I'm stressed out about injuries.
Yeah.
I just want the guys to stay healthy.
We don't talk about that.
Yeah, we don't talk about that. But inside, deep inside, I'm just like, stay healthy, stay off the ground, like practice smart.
Right.
And again, Coach Canales does a good job of preparing these guys and telling them how he wants the practice tempo on a day-to-day basis. So, but yeah, it's stressful on a day-to-day basis, just in terms of keeping the roster healthy heading into week one.
It's so funny because I would have imagined you, pre-CBA, Dan Morgan would be like, work harder.
Yeah.
You guys have it so easy. Like, you came in right when the CBA sort of went into effect, so you didn't have it. You're not. You want smart practicing, and there's balance to everything.
I mean, I think you have to take care of each other, as teammates, and I think the good teams have pros on the team, and they know how to practice and they know how to prepare on a day-to-day basis. So I think that's what we're developing out here.
Do you and Coach huddle together and say, this is what we want the culture to be in these roles? So can you explain sort of maybe what, in one sentence, what would you sort of name that culture?
I think our culture, we want a family type environment, to where we don't just care about the players on the field, we care about the players off the field. We want to see them succeed off the field just as much as we want to see them succeed on the field. So, I think if you care about players like that and you show the love and respect to the guys, I think that runs full circle. And I think that, you get the best out of the guys. So that's the type of environment that we want to create out here.
It's so great because it matters, right? Luke, like, this. You're one of 3 former player GMs that exist. So the fact that you're emphasizing buy-in, caring about the player, being, I would call player friendly.
Yeah.
As an organization like that, is that something that was, I don't want to say missing here, but how great is it to have that right now?
I think the biggest thing is it's celebrated, and you got to have the guys. Your best players should be your best guys. And that was kind of being my next question for you. On both sides of the ball, who are some of those guys that you point to and you're like, hey, we need those guys. We need more guys like that.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of those guys.
Yeah.
I think you look at Derek Brown, give him a big contract extension in the offseason, you would never know. I mean, the guy runs to the ball every single play with the same effort he did as a rookie. So guys like him, guys like Ashawn Robinson, really good leaders. Xavier Woods on the back end. On the offensive side, Deontay Johnson's been great. Great leader there. Adam Thielen. I mean, Chuba Hubbard. Like, there's so many guys that have that work ethic and just the type of people that we want to have around here.
And I think Chuba's a great example of a guy that last year Miles Sanders comes in, pay him a big contract.
Yeah.
Chuba beats him out and plays the majority of the year, has a fantastic year, and you watch him play, and he's so physical, and he'll do whatever you want him to do. Another guy, Sam Franklin. I know he just hurt his foot.
Yep.
Last week at practice, but a guy that, like, when you watch him play, you love how he attacks the ball. He's a special teams guy, but he takes it super seriously.
Yep.
Are there any other guys that aren't our Jadeveon Clowney, Shaq Thompson, Derek Browns, Ashawn Robinsons, that are kind of like the middle of the roster type guys that you're like, hey, we need some more guys that help their team like that?
He's like surveying the field.
Let's take a look. Let me look back. I think we have a lot of guys like that. Like, even rookies, like, just because you're a rookie doesn't mean you can't be a leader, and I think that's kind of what we emphasize out here too. Like, just because you're a rookie, like, don't just sit in the back. Like, you can be a leader. You can be a leader in your own way. Yeah, you don't have to get in front of the team and, like, give a speech or whatever, but you can, by the way you run to the ball, by the way your study habits, your practice habits. So that's kind of what we emphasize out here.
Last one for you. Preseason action, Patriots, it's all happening.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have a lot of them, but what is the one question you really need answered? The biggest question, the bold, highlighted one on your desk?
I don't think there's, like, one just, like, question that I have to have answered. I really just want to see the team go out there, compete, get better. get better. That's what we talk about every day, just getting better each day. Each day we're getting a little bit better as we build towards week 1 versus New Orleans. So that's going to be a tough matchup, and we know that. So we got to prepare out here and get ready for that.
I'll ask Luke the question because that was a very GM Dan Morgan answer. All the questions, just get better. What's your biggest question you want out of the preseason? What are you looking for?
I love seeing the young guys. You think about the preseason, guys like Shaq are going to play a lot. Thielen's not going to play a lot. But when you look at trying to build your roster, I think you try to figure out that bottom half of your roster, can we get really good there? And I think these preseason games give you an opportunity to see what we got. Some of these young guys, what are they like in preseason action? What is Trevin Wallace like when he gets in the game? We'd love to see him kind of come out. He's physical. I know you really like him, but that bottom half of your roster, how do they compete? Have they gotten better? What are they going to bring to our team? How's their energy? Because I think the bottom of that roster, when we were really good, we had guys that when Shaq has to come out for a couple plays in the game, we put another guy in there that's a bottom tier guy. Can he help us? And can he do a good job? And are we confident? So that's what I always look for in the preseason is how is the bottom, 30 to 53 guys on our roster going to look like?
Got some tough decisions, of course. You got a loaded wide receiver group. I mean, we're going to talk to Deontay Johnson, of course. Mingo killing it. You've got the veteran presence in Thielen. Your corners are going to have to take on the Falcons' loaded roster. You've got Mike Evans to deal with. How competitive is what's going on at corner right now for you?
Corner. That's a spot. Obviously, we're looking to address all positions and gain as much depth as possible. Obviously, we have J.C. Horn, who I think is one of the top corners in the league, and Dane Jackson on the other side. I think smart, competitive, tough. He's competing his butt off over there, so we're excited about him. And Troy Hill in the nickel. Obviously he's a veteran presence that is very dependable in there. So obviously, I feel like we have some good depth players. We'll continue to get better at every area of the roster. We're going to scour the waiver wire. 53-man cutdowns coming up, so we're going to be active. We're going to be aggressive, and we're going to try to make this roster one of the best in the NFL.
I think going back to your previous question about what Dan does right now, I think that's a big thing is trying to look at rosters on other teams, figuring out, all right, they got to cut to 53. Where are they heavy? So like maybe we're looking for a tight end, and we look at the Broncos roster, and they've got 6 or 7 guys that, hey, they can't keep all of them, but this guy that's maybe going to get cut could fit our roster. That's what Dan and those guys are trying to do right now is who's going to get cut, do they fit our team, and how do we get them on our team? So I think that was when I worked here in 2020 in the scouting department, that's what we were looking for is what guys in other rosters that might get cut, do they fit our team? And if they do, we got to be able to pull the trigger on them right away. So that part I think is really fun is you continue to roster build through the draft, through free agency, and then all the way through training camp.
Sounds like we got to let you go do that, Dan. I know you've got to go. You've got a lot of decisions to make. I'm so appreciative of your time. I'm really looking forward to the culture. Family first. Inclusive, progressive. The energy is just a 10 out of 10 here, Luke, and I know that means a lot to you.
Absolutely.
So we appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. You're the best. Can't wait to see what goes on out there. I'll try to keep him off the field. I don't know if I'm going to be successful.
We want him on the field. We want him talking to the players and spreading knowledge.
Okay, well then I'll let you loose. Great.
Cool.
Oh, and practice is starting. We'll be back on Up and Adams.